Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jonny Bowden. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite foods in the world, butter. I'll let that sink in for a minute because if you're not familiar with my work or that of my colleagues or this kind of way of thinking, you might think, butter? Doesn't that clog your arteries? Isn't that full of saturated fat? Doesn't it give you heart disease? Well, the answer to all of those questions is no, no, and no. So let me tell you why butter is one of my favorite foods. And let me also be clear that I am talking specifically about grass-fed butter. Remember, butter is a product that comes from cows. If those cows are not grass-fed, then the butter doesn't come from grass-fed cows, and then all bets are off. It's a whole different story, and we've talked about that in other videos, the difference between grass-fed meat and non-grass-fed meat. So all those benefits apply to products that come from cows as well, such as butter. So with grass-fed butter, there is a number of wonderful things that you get. And the first is a compound called butyric, which you may never have heard of, butyrate or butyric acid. This is a compound that the gut bacteria use as food. So it helps to keep your gut healthy. It helps to keep your microbiome, which is the name that scientists give to that huge ecology of microbes that lives in your gut. It helps to keep them healthy. And when your microbes are healthy, the microbes in your gut are healthy, everything works better. You assimilate nutrients better, your digestion is better, your gut health is better, your overall well-being is better. So it contains this very important compound, number one. It also contains another compound called CLA. Now granted, it doesn't contain a lot of it, but it contains some of it. Now let me tell you about CLA, conjugated linolenic acid. It's a type of fat. It's actually the only trans fat that's good for you. It's not a man-made trans fat. It's the kind of trans fat that actually occurs naturally in grass-fed meat and grass-fed and products from grass-fed meat like butter. And what this particular fat does for you is it has anti-cancer activities and anti-obesity activities. That's a nice little resume there. And granted, you have to take a lot more of it than you would get in butter, but there is some of it in butter, and that's definitely something to put in the plus column. Now, as far as the fat in butter goes, let's get a couple things straight. Anybody who is worried about saturated fat, it's time to start getting into the 21st century. We now know from a lot of research, and I've talked about this elsewhere, made videos about it, written about it in many different books. We now know from plentiful amount of research starting in around 2010 that saturated fat does not cause heart disease. Let me repeat that. Saturated fat does not clog your arteries. It does not cause heart disease. Yes, it may raise cholesterol. That's a different story. It raises good cholesterol more than it raises bad, but that's another issue, another discussion, another video. The point is, saturated fat has pretty much been cleared of a causal role in heart disease. So you don't need to worry about the saturated fat in butter. Not only that, a great deal of the fat in butter is actually monounsaturated fat, which is the same kind you get in olive oil, which everybody agrees is one of the healthiest oils in the world. So don't worry about the small amount of saturated fat that you get in a couple of pats of butter. Think about all the other great things that come with it. There's a little vitamin A, a little vitamin E, this wonderful substance I told you about, butyric or butyric acid. There's CLA. And it's just a great source of energy and fat. That's why Dave Asprey, my friend Dave Asprey, who started Bulletproof, began with Bulletproof coffee, which was what? Coffee and butter. There's all kinds of fancier Bulletproof coffee recipes now using MCT oil and other kinds of fats like that. But it started with plain old butter. And that was because Dave found correctly that when you start your day with some coffee and some fat for energy, your body will actually use fat. And that's exactly what the whole Bulletproof program is about, getting into a fat burning mode. And in order to be in fat burning mode, guess what you got to eat? Fat. Because your body won't burn it if you're not eating it. So, for all these reasons, plus the fact that it tastes great and it makes all kinds of foods taste great, I'm a big fan of butter. Even back in the day when I was a trainer at Equinox in the 90s, and we believed butter was bad for you. I believed butter was bad for you. I would still tell people, look, if you'll eat a plate of vegetables because it has a couple of pats of nice melted butter on it and some salt to give it a little tang, I say that whatever's bad in butter is worth it because you're eating a whole bunch of vegetables you wouldn't eat if they weren't flavored so richly. Now it turns out the butter isn't even bad for you. So all the things I thought that were good then, like it gives food flavor and it makes some foods that many of us don't really love to eat, like, broccoli, makes it tasty and palatable, I thought that was a fair trade-off. Now, you don't even have to make the trade-off because both broccoli and butter are good for you. And this is Jonny Bowden. I hope you like this. Please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you want me to address in these videos, and I will make them for you. See you next time.